Am I allowed to mention that on January 19th, this would be in 649 AD, the forces of Kucha surrendered to General Ashina She'er, which gave the Tang control of the northern Tarim Basin? Or would I just be wasting your time? Lists of historical events on this date tend to include this sort of incident, partly, I think, to illustrate the vanity of much worldly ambition. People look at that and say, Tang? I thought that was just bad taste and fake orange juice that came out of the Apollo mission. And also to fend off politically correct charges of Eurocentrism by giving equal weight to events in all sorts of different parts of the world. But honestly, would the history of the human race, would the history of the modern world be any different if this incident had not happened? And before you attempt to answer that question, step away from the keyboard and tell me where the northern Tarim Basin is, or I'll make it easy, any part of the Tarim Basin. So let me dive deep into the pool of political correctness here and fish out Hendrik Van Loon's History of Mankind, one of these wonderful, sprawling, books ostensibly for children that adults could really benefit from. Surveys. It was written in 1921, before PC was a thing of any sort, and it lays out what he thinks of as the story of mankind. And in it, he says quite explicitly that he has a criterion for inclusion here, and it's the importance of what was done in a particular place by a particular culture. He said, did they contribute an idea or an invention, do something that materially altered the future? And he said he wasn't being sentimental. He found the Mongols as picturesque as anything in history, but he just didn't think that they had contributed to the story. Now, I happen to disagree with him on that particular detail. The Mongols did contribute some things. They had an influence on China, though I'm not sure that it really mattered all that much. But they had a catastrophic impact on Russia before they vanished from the stage, possibly the first significant victims of the Black Death. They cut Russia off from the West, and they give it a very dangerous model of government as something that does not arise organically from the people for good or ill, but it's imposed on them and must be obeyed unquestioningly. However that may be, I think the more fundamental point is correct. Some things matter more than others. If it's just barbarians succeeding one another on the banks of the Isar River, it doesn't matter. And if you look at things like William the Conqueror successfully invading England, you see events with ramifications for the development of self-government, for the idea of liberty that now challenges the world, even in those parts of it that haven't yet, he said, hopefully, found their way to a functioning system in which people's rights are protected. There are events that really clearly matter to everybody, and there are events that don't. There are events that simply are oddities in the pages of history books. And I would submit that the conquest of the Kucha in the northern Tarim Basin, which is in Xinjiang, I did Google it, but I still don't really know much about this, it doesn't even matter to the people who live there now. It may have happened today, but I would be wasting your time talking about it if it weren't to illustrate two key things. One is the vanity of much worldly ambition, and the other one is that there are parts of the story of humankind that matter more than others, and the rise of the West and the challenge that it poses to the way of life of everybody else in the world really is critically important to everybody nowadays. And with all due respect to General Ashina She'er, who may have been very good at what he did, and to the Kucha, who resisted heroically before buckling, that battle, that conquest, is just not on the list of things that do actually matter to history. If you're enjoying these commentaries, please go to my website. That's www.johnrobson.ca. Make a monthly pledge to support my work, and keep watching The Rebel, keep subscribing to The Rebel for the news and the commentary you won't find anywhere else.